Hello everyone, my name is Caden Scher, and today I'm going to be talking about the Coastal Conservation Association. One of the many things all people agree on is supporting charities and organizations that help add support to our environment and children. While there are many organizations that support all kinds of causes, it is the smaller ones that often have the biggest impacts by focusing on more specific causes. The CCA helps preserve all of our coastal waters, educates our schools, and pushes the word of smaller organizations through legislation to support the health of our habitats. One of the number one things that CCA does, obviously Coastal Conservation Association, is its conservation. CCA started in 1977 in a small coastal town in Texas, and that was when 14 recreational fishermen got together in a tackle store in Port O'Connor, Texas, and they decided that they were going to start a cause that was going to help our coast, and it would stop the overfishing of our game fish. 4 years later, all gill nets were outlawed on the Texas coast. And what a gill net is, it's a big net, and it catches everything. It goes across big waterways, and it catches dolphins, turtles, all the fish. No matter what it is, it catches birds, whatever it is, it's going to get caught in the gill net and it's going to die. And that was a huge problem with our overfisheries, is that commercial fishermen were overfishing all of our waterways and our coast with gill nets. So 4 years later, after the association was founded, all gill nets were outlawed on the Texas coast, and redfish and trout, which are some of the main things that the CCA supports, they were classified as game species in the state of Texas, which means they could no longer be commercially fished. They can still be farmed in a commercial way, but they can no longer be fished in our state waterways. Since then, the CCA has exploded almost to every coastal state in the United States, including some of the landlocked states like Oregon, Colorado, where the headwaters of rivers travel down and where those fish do end up eventually going south to states that also have a Coastal Conservation Association. Other states like Oregon also have coastal conservation associations because their rivers start so far north, and when the salmon travel up them, those salmon end up coming back down south after they hatch to go out to the oceans. So technically, they are classified on the Coastal Conservation Association list. Education. Another huge thing that CCA does is education. I know personally from going through schools and going to some camps, the CCA puts a lot of money into helping the education of kids learn just all about our coast and our marshes and everything that CCA has to do with. According to CharityNavigator.com, the CCA raised almost $18 million in 2021 towards education through putting on clinics about teaching kids what all jobs there are on the Coastal Conservation Association board, what all jobs there are in the coastal environment as a whole, whether it be game wardens or marine biology. They also do big clinics over reef health and marsh health and fish hatcheries as well. They spend a lot of money going to schools and, like I said, bringing those people out and teaching them all about our coasts. They also do summer camps, like I went to a few, and also they do tournaments. A huge one is the Texas Star Tournament. What the Texas Star Tournament is, it goes from the beginning of summer to almost the very end of summer when we start school. And you have to pay to enter it. And what they do is they release tagged redfish. So at the beginning, my uncle, they catch the redfish at a big power plant where nobody else can fish. So there's always lots of redfish for them to catch there. And they take little tags, they put them in their backs, and they release those redfish all up and down the Texas coast. When you catch one, you bring it in and you report it. This year, because of the freeze, they did a live picture. You take a picture of the tag and the fish, and then you released it, and you're able to send it in instead of having to kill the fish to bring it in. And then you can win things like, if you're under 18, you win huge scholarships, and you can also win a boat. But if you're over that age, you can win boats, trucks, trailers, and large amounts of money. But all that doesn't really count towards the money that they raise just to go to education, just to scholarships, and all the other things like that. The CCA also has a big voice, even though it was only founded in 1977, it's really grown exponentially because it was something that nobody really realized was necessary until it became a well-known name in the fishing industry. And so the CCA really helps put a foot down on legislation, and it really makes a mark of its own when it comes to fisheries and the laws that come along with pollution and fertilizers along the Texas coast that have been huge issues. One of those things is for Captains for Clear Water, especially in the Florida chapters. Captains for Clear Water is a group of people mainly around the Mosquito Lagoon that came together to try to stop all the water pollution that was coming out of the rivers that led into the Mosquito Lagoon. It was crops that were being sprayed with fertilizer and pesticides, and what that was doing was traveling downriver and creating giant red algae blooms that were killing all the fish, all the turtles, all the tarpon, all the birds, because that red algae was poisonous to the fish themselves. It was also poisonous to the fish that the birds were eating, and it was killing everything. So that's just one of the many things that the CCA has put its foot down with in legislation, along with all this year, especially oyster harvesting. A lot of the bays in Central Texas and the Central Texas coast and the Northern Texas coast, they're very overfished by oyster fishermen, and they're really tearing up the bottom and the big reefs that the CCA has spent so much money on in trying to produce a better fishery and a better habitat for the fish on our Texas coast. While there are many charities or organizations out there to support all kinds of great causes, from helping ill children to building houses for the poor, those organizations don't save our earth from pollution and overfishing. Through conservation, education, and preserving our government, the CCA is an organization that I believe everybody can get behind. Thank you.